In the shadow of Nebuchadnezzar's towering golden idol, the air was thick with tension. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood defiantly before the enraged king. His fiery eyes bore into them as flames from the nearby furnace roared hungrily, casting a hellish glow over the scene. "Is it true you do not serve my God?" Nebuchadnezzar's voice was a thunderous growl. His fist clenched the edge of his throne. "Who is the God that would deliver you from my hand?" He saw himself as untouchable, a god among men, but the three Hebrews did not waver. With calm, unshaken resolve, they responded, "Our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But even if he does not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods nor worship the golden image which you have set up." Nebuchadnezzar's face twisted with fury. "Turn the furnace up! 7 times hotter!" he bellowed. His soldiers rushed to stoke the flames until the heat became unbearable, warping the air and shimmering with deadly intent. The king's command came next. "Tie them up and throw them in." The soldiers, drenched in sweat and trembling with fear, bound the men and dragged them to the edge. The heat was so intense that it claimed the lives of the soldiers instantly, their bodies collapsing before they could throw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the inferno. But as the 3 men fell into the fire, something miraculous happened. Nebuchadnezzar leapt to his feet in horror, his eyes wide. "Didn't we throw 3 men into the fire? I see 4. One looks like an angel." Terrified, he called out, "Come out, servants of the Most High God." To everyone's amazement, the 3 Hebrews walked out unharmed, no burns, not even the smell of smoke. Nebuchadnezzar, shaken and humbled, declared, "The God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is great. He sent his angel and saved them. There is no God like theirs." In that moment, even Nebuchadnezzar had to bow before the true power of faith.
On a moonless night, King Saul's footsteps crunched through the brittle leaves of the Endor forest, each step reverberating with desperation. Cloaked in disguise, he approached the ramshackle hut of the Witch of Endor. The air was thick with an unholy silence, as if the forest itself held its breath. Saul knocked once, twice, and the door creaked open to reveal the witch, her eyes glinting with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "Who seeks the dead?" she rasped. "I need to speak with Samuel," Saul said, his voice trembling. Reluctantly, the witch began her incantations, her voice melding with the eerie whispers of the wind. The flames of her hearth flickered and grew, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. Suddenly, a cold gust extinguished the fire, plunging the room into darkness. A bone-chilling presence filled the space. Out of the shadows, the ghostly form of Samuel emerged, his eyes hollow, his expression stern. "Why have you disturbed me?" Samuel's voice echoed, causing Saul to shudder. Trembling, Saul explained his plight. the camp of Philistine army against him, his crumbling kingdom. What does the future hold? Samuel's spectral form seemed to darken. Because you have disobeyed the Lord, Israel will fall. Tomorrow, you and your sons will be with me among the dead. The prophecy hung in the air like a death knell. Saul's blood ran cold. As the ghostly figure faded, the witch recoiled, her face pale. The king stumbled out into the night, the weight of his doom pressing upon him, each heartbeat counting down to his final breath. As predicted, in a desperate final battle the next day, Saul fell upon his own sword, cold steel slicing through flesh, fulfilling the ghost's grim prophecy. A lesson to the living that demonic forces are not to be trifled with. Viewer discretion is advised, and may not be suitable for the children who may not understand the deep meaning of this story. In a wet, cold evening, Elijah stood at the edge of the hilly forest, towards Bethel, his eyes heavy with weariness. He had spent days walking the desolate path. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long, twisted shadows on the ground. As he trudged along, a group emerged from the nearby village, their laughter sharp and mocking him, and "Go up, bald head," they jeered, their voices echoing through the trees. Elijah's heart darkened at their words. He had been taunted before, but something in the air felt different, charged with an ominous energy. The prophet halted, his gaze cold and unyielding. The group continued to taunt him.
"Bold old man, flee to the mountain. Bold old man, leave now. Flee to the mountain. Leave now."
Again and again, they continued to bully him in their numbers. They were 42 in number, oblivious to the danger they courted. Elijah's lips moved in prayer and cursed them to be silent, invoking the power of the Lord. The air around him grew heavy, the sky darkening as if nature itself recoiled in fear. Suddenly, from the depths of the forest, there came a low, guttural growl. The boys froze, their laughter dying in their throats. From the shadows emerged two enormous bears, their eyes glowing with a savage hunger. The ground trembled beneath their massive paws as they approached, their breath ragged and hot. The boys screamed, but it was too late. The bears lunged, tearing through the group with merciless fury. Blood stained the earth as their cries faded into the night. Elijah turned away, his face expressionless. The path behind him was silent, but for the rustling of leaves in the wind. The moral of the Bible story, from 2 Kings 2:23-25, was this: pay honor to your elders, your church leaders, or you too might suffer a similar fate from the God who will not be mocked, or let his prophets be mocked.
It was the quiet of a stormy evening, the sky darkening as Jonah fled hastily on his horse, racing towards Joppa. The wind howled through the desolate landscape, carrying the scent of the ocean's fury. Reaching Joppa, Jonah found a ship bound for a distant port. God's command to warn Nineveh against destruction due to their wickedness echoed in his mind, but Jonah had other ideas. He entered the ship, ignoring the ominous clouds gathering overhead. As night fell, the ship sailed into the tumultuous sea. The waves crashed against the wooden vessel with a force that spelt doom for the sailors. The storm grew fiercer, the ocean's wrath unrelenting. The sailors, gripped by fear, cried out to their gods, throwing cargo overboard to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay in a deep sleep. Oblivious to the chaos above. The captain, frantic, found Jonah. "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us so that we will not perish." The sailors, desperate, interrogated Jonah. "Who is responsible for this trouble? What do you do? Where do you come from?" "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land," Jonah answered, his voice steady amidst the storm. The sailors were terrified. "What have you done?" they asked, knowing he was fleeing from the Lord. The sea grew rougher, waves towering over the ship. "What should we do to make the sea calm down?" "Pick me up and throw me into the sea," Jonah replied, "and it will become calm. It is my fault this great storm has come upon you." Reluctantly, the men tried to row back to land, but the sea grew even wilder. They cried out to the Lord, "Please do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man." With heavy hearts, they threw Jonah overboard. The raging sea immediately grew calm. A whale lurked beneath. As Jonah gasped for breath, the whale's humongous jaws opened, swallowing him whole. Inside the belly of the whale, Jonah survived. Knowing God was testing him, he prayed, repented, and praised God. For 3 days, Jonah remained in the whale's belly, safe yet reflective. Then, God commanded the whale to vomit Jonah onto the shores of Nineveh. He realized with God, there is nowhere to run as he knows and sees all. Humbled, Jonah preached to Nineveh, warning them to repent or face destruction in 40 days. The people believed, turned from their wickedness, and God had mercy on them, sparing the city from destruction.
From the dawn of human civilization, humans have been guided by divine laws that keep us safe on this new planet. But the ruler of the underworld whispers to sway us away from these laws, as evidenced in the days of Adam and Eve. In this era, God's command was clear: be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Yet, the heart of man, filled with rebellion and pride, harbored other plans. Whispers of defiance spread among the people as they gathered in secret to conceive a grand scheme. They envisioned a monumental structure, one that would challenge the very heavens, and divinity would stand as a testament to their ingenuity and ambition. "Come," they said to one another, "let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves and not be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Their vision was clear: to construct a structure so magnificent that it would rival the very heavens, defying the natural order and asserting their dominance over creation. The construction began with fervent energy. Hammers struck mortar, fires roared as bricks were formed, and iron was forged with unwavering determination. Driven by their collective pride, they decided to build the greatest edifice the world had ever seen. A tower so tall it would reach the throne of Earth itself. In this act of defiance against their creator, they sought to prove their worth and independence. Day and night, the men toiled, their resolve unbroken by the dangers that lurked. Many fell to their deaths, their screams echoing from the towering heights. Yet the work continued unabated. Each brick laid, each beam raised, was an act of rebellion, a declaration that they could reach the divine on their terms. The tower grew taller, inching ever closer to the skies. But God, in his infinite wisdom, observed their actions. He understood the consequences of their disobedience and the folly of their pride. His command to populate the earth carried profound benefits for humanity. Spreading out would ensure diversity, growth, and the flourishing of civilizations across the globe. Yet, united in a single location, mankind's potential for unchecked ambition and corruption grew dangerously high. Recognizing the need to intervene, God acted decisively. He confounded their language, with different groups having different languages.
Où est la
公共汽车站在哪里？
The once harmonious project dissolved into disarray as communication barriers forced them to abandon their lofty aspirations. Scattered across the earth, they carried with them the memory of their defiance and the lesson that pride and disobedience would not go unchallenged. Today, we have people of vast culture and tradition, with unique languages flourishing the earth as God has planned. The story of Babel endures, a timeless lesson in the dangers of pride and the importance of heeding divine guidance.
Lazarus, a destitute man covered in sores on a bright summer morning, lay at the gate of a wealthy man's mansion, longing for the crumbs from his table. Ignored by the rich man, Lazarus's only companions were street dogs that licked his wounds. The rich man lived in luxury, indifferent to Lazarus's suffering. Eventually, Lazarus died and was carried by angels to Abraham's bosom, a place of comfort's land with streets of gold. Shortly after, the rich man also died and was buried with great ceremony. However, he found himself in Hades, a realm of eternal torment, filled with the acrid stench of burning flesh and sulfur. Souls writhed in relentless flames, their screams echoing endlessly. Demons prowled, inflicting unbearable pain. Amid this inferno, the rich man joined the chorus of agony, his cries lost in a sea of despair, enduring unbearable.
In the days when the earth was still young, the daughters of men blossomed with unparalleled beauty. The celestial beings known as the Watchers, angels who had been tasked with observing humanity, could not help but be captivated by the allure of these mortal women. Drawn by a forbidden desire, these angels descended from the heavens, casting aside their divine duty in a lustful pursuit that would alter the course of history. From the union of the Watchers and the daughters of men emerged the Nephilim, towering giants of immense strength and cruelty. These beings, born of divine rebellion and mortal sin, wielded a power that struck terror into the hearts of all who encountered them. Their presence was part of a sinister scheme by the devil, a bid to redesign God's creation and show humanity that even angels could defy the Creator without immediate punishment. The Nephilim roamed the earth unchecked, leaving a trail of unimaginable terror and devastation. Villages were obliterated, their inhabitants either slaughtered or enslaved. These monstrous offspring of the Watchers wielded tree trunks as weapons, smashing homes and consuming humans with fire. Their insatiable violence knew no bounds, and the cries of the tormented reached the heavens. Witnessing the chaos, the Creator decided to act decisively. The rebellious Watchers were cast into the abyss, their defiance not to go unpunished. However, their monstrous progeny, the Nephilim, continued their rampage across the land. The horrors they inflicted upon humanity were beyond comprehension, as they crushed bones and spirits alike with their relentless brutality. 10 generations after the creation of Adam, God saw that the earth was corrupt and filled with violence, and he decided to destroy what he had created. To cleanse the earth of this corruption, God chose Noah, a righteous man, and instructed him to build an ark. As the great floodwaters began to rise, the Nephilim, along with the rest of humanity, struggled to escape their fate. They clawed desperately at the ark, but it was beyond their reach. Men and giants alike climbed the highest mountains and trees, yet they could not escape the engulfing ocean. Despite their might, the Nephilim were swept away and drowned, their reign of terror ending in the depths of the floodwaters. With the flood, the earth was purged of its corruption, and order was restored. The ark stood unique atop the calm ocean, a beacon of hope in the desolation. As the Nephilim's bodies perished, their spirits, now called evil spirits, still roamed the earth, born of mortal mothers and divine angels. Their terrifying legacy serves as a stark reminder of defying divine boundaries. Even now, whispers of their ancient horror echo, reminders of when giants ruled and humanity neared annihilation.